long. And this webinar is an important step towards that. I would also like to mention over here, we are also running an online course on decentralized wastewater management, the basic concepts, and wherein we have a lot of participants from Ethiopia. So this webinar is also being attended by our Ethiopian fellows also. So we are very sure this is going to be quite an interesting webinar for all of us. So just allow me to share my screen because we'll start with the introduction of the webinar in the context setting first. So just give me a moment. Hope my screen is visible to everyone. Okay.
Yeah, it's visible.
Thanks. So this webinar is going to happen for 1.5 hours. And yeah. So let me take you through the webinar agenda for today. We are going to have a 15 minutes of opening remarks and context setting session, which is going to talk about the CSE also, what CSE does, and what exactly is the aim of this webinar. And then it will be followed up by a presentation by Mr. Santosh, who is a technical expert at BODA. We'll be talking about the planning, designing challenges and possible remedial measures and BODA's journey in decentralized use water management. But before that, yes, we will have a basic presentation from my colleague Jyoti, who will be talking about the basic aspects of decentralized wastewater management. So after Santosh, it will be followed up by a very important study conducted by IWAC. And this is called as 4S study, and most of you must be knowing about it. This will be taken up by Mr. Lucas Ulrich, who is the project manager at Muna Limited, Switzerland. And then we will reflect upon the recently launched liquid waste management rules by MOAFCC. We will talk about it. And Mr. Jyoti Prasad, who is from CSE, will be talking about the key aspects of the liquid waste management rules. And then this presentation will be followed up by an interactive discussion wherein we will have the experts and practitioners from this sector who will be talking about who will be talking about their views on the liquid waste management rules. So we'll be having Mr. Dhaval Patil from EcoCell, Mr. J.S. Kamyotra, Mr. Vicky Chaurasia, and our panelists also. So that's how it is, and we will try to wrap it up at 4:30 with some of the question and answers, and that's how the whole flow of the webinar. So we had a very good registration. As I told, we had approximately 600 plus registrations so far from 12 countries, 105 cities. And if we see the gender-wise, segregation, we have approximately 32% female and 68% males. So this is going to be attended by a lot of, attendees today. Before going to the webinar, the proceedings of the webinar, we'll just reflect upon some of the housekeeping rules so that we have the smoother execution of the webinar. First of all, I would request all the participants to keep their mic muted unless speaking. And with your permission, we would like to record the webinar. And if you have any questions, please put these questions in the questions and answer window, not in the chat box. And please put in your name and organization name. So in any case we are not able to address your questions now, we will take it up further. We will send you the message or the mail with the answers. Raise your hand if you want to ask or share anything, and watch the chat window because we will be posting the biographies and the link to the resources. As I told, we have a very good line of speakers today. We have Mr. Santosh, Mr. Lucas, Mr. Dr. Vicky Chaurasia, Jyoti Prasad Dhaval, and Mr. J.S. Kamyotra. So that's how we are aligned for today. So for those who don't have any idea about the Center for Science and Environment and our water program, I would like to quickly reflect upon a bit about our organization. Center for Science and Environment is an organization which was set up in 1980s at the time when there were not many organizations working in the sector of environment. And it's a Delhi-based organization and works as a non-profit society. It's a public interest policy, research, and advocacy organization which works towards promoting sustainable development with equity, participation, and democracy. We have been awarded with the several prizes, and recently we were awarded with the Edinburgh Medal in 2020. We are working with various ministries. Our water program, especially we talk about, we are working with the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs and the Ministry of Jal Shakti as a National Key Resource Center. We have a good state-of-the-art training institute and a living laboratory. This is Anil Agrawal Environment Training Institute. I'm sure those who have already joined the CSE programs already know about it. So we work in different programs, and these programs are carried out with 4 main pillars of our approach. We do action research, we do advocacy, capacity building, and the cross learning. So Center for Science and Environment is not limited to water, wastewater, and sanitation. Besides it, we have 7 more programs which are working in different dimensions of the environment. It is being supported. All the programs are doing the research and advocacy work, and these programs are being supported by the Training Institute, Pollution Monitoring Laboratory, as well as the Communication of Media Resource Center. So we have Down to Earth, which most of the people have heard about it, and the websites, e-newsletters, and media, etc. So we have altogether all the system in place. So our water program has evolved the way the sanitation journey has evolved so far. In 2000, when most of the emphasis was on the infrastructure creation, where the pipeline land, sewer coverage, water supply, and all was making a lot of was the main emphasis of the programs and policies. It shifted from infrastructure creation to service level benchmark or service level improvement later on, wherein the centralized sewer sanitation to non-centralized sewer sanitation or non-sewer sanitation started to talk upon. And later from these, then the shift, then the shift happened from infrastructure creation to service level benchmark to the sanitation, the service provision to C-wise. So wherein by improving the functions of accountability, responsibility, and the grievance and planning, the main emphasis was to improve the outcomes in terms of inclusion, safety, and sustainability. At the same time, the emphasis also shifted in the programs and policy on circular economy, reuse of treated water and sludge, etc. So the way the sanitation journey evolved, the way our water program also evolved. Our water program, if I talk about the water program, we are working as an ear to the ground. Ear to the ground means we are trying to find out the gaps in the policy and the practice. So, and trying to filling up those gaps. And then any policy requires a conceptual clarity. So what should be done? That is, we try to find out what should be done and what should not be done. And once this is decided, then how it is to be done. This is carried out by the assessment of what exists and the planning followed by designing of various kinds of systems. So from here, let me tell you a bit about our water program scope. As we are talking about the decentralized wastewater management, but we are not limited to decentralized wastewater management. We also work towards sustainability of rural water supply, global South water sensitive framework, climate change, reuse of treated wastewater and biosolids, sustainable and inclusive sanitation services, strengthening systems understanding, groundwater recharge, and water bodies rejuvenation. So we are not limited to water and wastewater, only decentralized wastewater management. We work on a complete issues of the water and wastewater. And the program outcomes, through our program, we are supporting the national and state sanitation missions. We are also working as an independent, credible voice and advocating for the issues. We are working in the state of Uttar Pradesh for effective septic management, and internationally we are working with the global South countries, and we are learning through their experience, and we are sharing our experiences to them. In this regard, we have also understood the problems what is there in the global north are not same in the global south, and here our program came up with a global south water sensitive cities framing, and this is based on the idea that cities commit to a just and equitable access, use and reuse of water, um, and also to sewerage, septic, and stormwater management. And actually, this whole framework recognizes inequity in urban settlements. As we did a study, and from the studies, various studies, we came to know that inequity is the main important aspect in terms of water and wastewater management. And this framework actually recognizes that inequity in the urban settlements as the basis of planning and designing interventions for water-sensitive cities. So on the guiding principles of larger and long-term vision, wherein the equity, rights, and justice goals has been taken into account, climate change, design aspects in terms of equity and justice, reduction of the conflicts, and improvement in the functionality and efficiency of green infrastructure, we came up with the index. And this index talks about four important aspects, which is number one is the functional infrastructure and services, which is for the effective water and wastewater management. First and foremost requirement is the functionality of the infrastructure and the services. Means non-functional water and sanitation, stormwater infrastructure and services will lead us nowhere. Functional and inclusive infrastructure for unserved areas. The areas which are not served with the infrastructure need to be served with the functional and inclusive infrastructure. Substantial reuse of treated wastewater and biosolids, very important part of this index, and mitigating in situ urban flooding through effective stormwater drainage, stormwater management practices. So CSE has been working with the Global South countries, taking in mind this Global South framework. We are working with the various ministries globally. We are working with Ethiopia, South Africa, and other organizations and institutions in the Global South. So this is a little snapshot about our collaboration with the various universities and various organizations worldwide. So here I will stop, and I will stop sharing screen first. And so that was a little background about CSE and the water program. From here, we'll now go to the next presenter, which is Mr. Jyoti Prasad Dadej. He will be talking about the basic concepts of the decentralized wastewater management and its principles. So Jyoti, it is up to you. We will be posting the bios of the resource persons in the chat box where you can have a look about it. So Jyoti, it is up to you.
Thank you, Sumita ji. I'll share my screen. Is my screen visible? Hello?
Yeah, Jyoti, it is visible, very much visible. Please put it in the presentation mode.
Yeah, so thank you, Sumita ji. Hello everyone. I will talk about decentralized wastewater treatment systems in this presentation, and will highlight some key aspects related to this. So I'll start with the basics that how many approaches we have in place. What are the different approaches for wastewater management? So in this pictorial view, you can see that one is centralized or conventional method for wastewater treatment, that is through sewerage network, and then we take it to the uh, treatment plant, which is mostly implemented at the peripheral of the city. And then we have a decentralized wastewater management approach where we can have a treatment plant at our source, and we can treat and reuse locally for our various purposes. And then we have a third approach is FSTP, fecal sludge treatment plant, or co-treatment approach, where we take our sludge from on-site sanitation systems to the facility, and we treat and reuse the byproducts locally. So if you look at these approaches, these three approaches, one is fully centralized approach, another is a semi-centralized approach, and then fully decentralized approach. So how economics works? So if you look at fully centralized systems, then at treatment sites, the treatment plant cost will be low. If we see the per unit volume of treated water. But at the same time, networking part where we connect different households to the treatment plant, which is more costlier. In semi-centralized systems, what we do, we connect different systems to a larger system. And in this scenario, we see the construction costs are relatively low, but the management of different treatment systems, because we will have several small treatment systems, and the management part will be costlier. In decentralized systems, the structural or construction cost will be lower, but we need to create an environment where public involvement, as well as the fundings, as well as the O&M, and we need to create an enabling environment for this kind of system. Okay. So further, we'll talk about the challenges what we face in the current sanitation approach, current wastewater system, which is conventional or centralized wastewater system. So we all know that centralized systems requires huge infrastructure, huge capex and opex. Okay. Uh, Actually, in centralized wastewater systems, we see inequality because it can't cater all the city or all the population of the city. It can cater 30, 40%, 60% population, but slum area and low income area, they are left out. And it also, we also see that insufficient infrastructures in this kind of treatment approach, because these systems are designed for a certain period, and if we see rapid expansion in the population in the city, then we need to upgrade the system. So this is the factor. Another factor is poor O&M. We create large infrastructure, but O&M is a challenge for our most of the cities in India. Uh, then what we see, the centralized systems are overall managed by the utility or ULB, and public involvement is very less. These systems are very energy intensive. If they don't comply to the standards, then the disposal of the wastewater can contaminate water bodies and can pollute the water bodies. So these are the factors uh, which emphasize on the centralized wastewater systems. If we talk broadly about this current system, then we see that for water consumption, we bring fresh water from outside of the city, outside the town, from a long distance, and we use a huge infrastructure. We put a lot of money investment. Uh, we create huge infrastructure network for pipes, pumpings, and all, and we bring it to our city. Then we use it, we flush it, it goes as wastewater, and then again we create same infrastructure like pumpings, networks, and all, and then we take our wastewater to the out of the city, at the peripheral of the city, to the treatment plant. So this is actually unsustainable or not a sustainable approach. We should look upon a sustainable approach where we can reuse the wastewater, treated water locally. We can uh, look at the resource recovery or sustainability aspects. So the question here is, what approach can be adopted? Okay, so here it comes to focus on decentralized wastewater systems. This is the need of the hour. So these are the systems which treat wastewater locally from different establishments like individual households, industrial establishments, institutional establishments, cluster housing societies, communities, etc. These systems are looked at. We look at these systems as a low maintenance systems. So the Boarda's guidebook, authored by Sase 1998, they promoted these kind of systems as low maintenance systems. They use abbreviation called LOMWATs. So from here the journey begin, and then we are using such kind of systems for so long. Okay. So next is our government of India is also focusing on decentralized wastewater treatment systems, because centralized systems alone can't cater all the population and can't treat all the wastewater generated in the town. So decentralized systems are highlighted in the Swachh Bharat mission. Swachh Bharat mission emphasizes on these on-site sanitation systems or local solutions. Then Amrut 2.0 also suggests to reuse the wastewater, like 20% wastewater to be reused locally. So they also promote decentralized solutions. Jal Jeevan Mission also talks about the sustainable solutions which can treat the wastewater at source and recycle and reuse the wastewater at source for various purposes. So our government is also focusing, government is also promoting decentralized systems. And the 2 days webinar, Liquid Waste Management 2024 rules, they also talk about decentralized wastewater systems. So that's why we are discussing here. Okay. So if we see the decentralized systems in different setups, like rural setup, urban setups, or peri-urban setups, then in rural areas, there is no sewerage networks, and we lack sewerage networks. So these kind of small scale treatments or decentralized systems can add values, and they can help in mitigating the risk of the health, public health, or environmental health. In urban settlements, uh, the most of the wastewater goes to the centralized treatment systems. Sometimes they are overutilized. So to reduce the burden of the centralized systems in urban settlements, we can go with the decentralized systems. In peri-urban areas where populations is getting expanded in rapid pace, so there the decentralized systems can be a sustainable solutions, and we can look at such kind of solutions. If we talk about the benefits of decentralized wastewater systems, then we will see it through three aspects: social aspects, economic aspects, and environmental aspects. So uh, these kind of systems benefits us in these three aspects. Like these are cost efficient. These systems doesn't take 10, 12 years for the implementation as centralized systems or sewage networks. So these systems can be implemented in 4 to 6 to 12 months hardly. And these systems can play a big role in abatement of the pollution and mitigating the public health and environmental risks. And in decentralized systems, we see the public involvement where community itself comes forward, and they get involved into the implementation and O&M of the systems. So we are seeing decentralized systems are being implemented so long, but there are some challenges which can be figured out, or which can be rectified from uh, uh, if we get some help from the government, or if we get some close eye. So financial and technical concerns, like decentralized systems are not getting much focus. They are not getting much funding. So we need uh, to fund the ULBs for implementing decentralized solutions, as we fund them for the centralized solutions. Decentralized solutions, mostly they are being implemented, but the maintenance or close eye is not there. People just think that nature-based solutions, they can run itself, and we don't need to operate or maintain it. But a close eye or regular oversee is needed to sustain the system. And other thing is, there is a social stigma that people will not allow uh, implementers to construct the plant in their premises or society, because they think that wastewater is not good. Okay, so this social stigma or social taboo need to be uh, removed. What government support and funding opportunities are there? There should be some mechanism where we can see the grants or subsidies from the government to the ULBs to implement the decentralized systems. We can go for public-private partnerships. We can encourage public or private entities to come forward and adopt the decentralized solutions. And another thing is capacity building, because our government people still lacks capacity, like to design or review the decentralized system. So regular government-led training programs are needed to encourage the systems. So if we look at largely, then decentralized systems are critical component in the sustainable water management. They are they aligns to the Sustainable Development Goal 6 and SDG 11, Sustainable Cities. And they actually, such kind of systems already always encourage community involvement or public participation. So these kind of systems to be adopted for sustainability of the systems. Yeah, thank you.
So thank you, Jyoti. It is, can you stop sharing your screen, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. It was a good overview of the decentralized wastewater management approach and the systems, and how it is better or than the centralized. But again, I say, just as I saw in the as in the preceding, in the coming session from Mr. Santosh, we can see this is not the competition between centralized and decentralized. It is actually the complement with each other. So now going to the next session, which is by Mr. Santosh. Let me tell a bit about Mr. Santosh. Mr. Santosh is a technical expert in urban water and sanitation with a specialization is in DWATS and fecal sludge management. He has his degree in urban water and sanitation and specialization in sanitary engineering from the UNESCO IHE Institute for Water and Education from Delft, Netherlands. He has extensive experience of 12 years and has been involved with various international and national projects across Global South. And currently, he is leading as a technical expert in liquid waste management at Boda. So he has a vast experience. Now, Santosh, it is that it is to you. Please present about the context-specific planning and design challenges and possible remedial measures in Boda journey in decentralized use water management.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Sumita. Thank you for having me here. Yes, my presentation is broadly going to talk about these three aspects. Firstly, some journey that Boda has done in decentralized wastewater management, some context-specific planning and design, and finally, we are going to see some challenges and possible remedies. So Boda right now is operating in 5 different regions. In that South Asia, we cater to 3 countries, that is India, Nepal, and Bangladesh. We are working closely with 8 towns. We are close to 50 resources working across different partners in South Asia. To talk about Boda's journey in India, I think Boda started its operations in Bremen, Germany in 1976. However, it was in late 90s or early 2000 when we started our operations in India. It all started with having DWATS as one of the basic need services that was supposed to be delivered in India. And later, after a lot of demonstrations, by end of 2005, we have had several organizations coming together to disseminate the knowledge of DWATS. And as late as 2008, when NUSP had asked every city to have a CSP, I think we had already started making CSP by 2008. This was mostly the second phase of our funding, and we were already in the mode of piloting most of the demonstrations that were started in early 2000. Then we had set up our own training center, and then a lot of scaling up of DWATS was happening until late 2010, and then in 2014 we had due to Swachh Bharat Abhiyan and several similar projects, we had FSM coming into the picture. We have had several projects up and running in late 2015 on FSM, and then we had scaling up of these projects throughout 2015 to 2018. Then we stepped into water body by diversifying our services, and then it went on for some years, and then now in the present phase we are now focusing on inclusive and climate resilience. We have also incubated a new organization, and then we'll be also getting into many more aspects of inclusive and climate resilience, and also reuse and circularity in coming years. So this has been the journey of Boda in India, and all through the common aspect was, of course, the decentralization ideology, and also having nature-based solution implemented on ground. So these are something which everybody knows of what could be the pros and cons of centralization, right? However, decentralization also has its pros and cons. But I think more than that, it is to also state that from our experience, it is hard to really compare decentralization and centralization on a single table, because both have its own pros and cons. And decentralization can only complement to wherever this centralization could not be reached, or could not be really achieved in a fully manner. So this is from our experience. We say that decentralization can only complement to the centralization approach. When it comes to adopting a right kind of technology, so nature-based is something which can bridge the gap between a sophisticated system to a low or inefficient way of managing waste. So again, I would say it is really to complement the conventional or sophisticated system is what we implement nature-based solutions for, actually. And then these systems, apart from, there are a couple of nature-based solutions which are actually now being scaled up at city level. For example, CAMUS, aka which was SBT earlier, is now being implemented at large at a centralized level. However, we have we have tried making DWATs at a decentralized level, at a city level, but I think I would still say that making some of these nature-based solutions at a centralized level will be still challenging. Of course, the age-old WSP is the best nature-based solution system that is being implemented at a city scale level. However, those plants which are like 10 or 15 years old now are actually not meeting the standards because of lack of maintenance. Because when it was implemented, it was told as a low maintenance system, but it went on as a no maintenance system. So it took us almost 10 years after launching DWATs in India early 2000 for it to be actually be appearing in a CPHEO manual. So and then very recently the advisory from again CPHEO also refers to some of the modules of DWATs in them. It took us quite a lot of time to actually establish this on some of these central level guidelines. So these are the books that actually Jyoti was referring to in his presentation. So these books are available for reference, and the technology which I'm referring to, DWATS, was also based on some of the empirical way of designing and based on some of the experiences after a lot of piloting was compiled together to make one technology. So some thing about context specific planning and design when it comes to decentralized way of managing liquid waste. It could be either fecal sludge, grey water, or even wastewater. These are some of the things that we would like to keep in mind, even to say whether we have to go or no go to a project. For example, for any decentralization project, it is necessary for us to know the project boundary. Unlike in a centralization, I think it can be very dynamic, it can expand over the years, but sorry, when it comes to decentralization, sorry for that. Sorry for that. When it comes to decentralization, we need to know the project boundary so that we can plan the decentralization system efficiently. We need to have a space available for adopting any kind of a treatment system. We need to know a place where we can dispose the surplus treated water, or we can reuse the treated end products. We need to certainly know some idea about the geoclimatic conditions, and of course, we need to know if there are specific funds available to do this intervention. So in order to do this, we generally do pre-feasibility to get some of this information to decide to go ahead with certain kind of project or not. And then once we know once it is a yes or a no to a specific project, then we have a whole list of planning activities that are available, right from a recce survey to primary data collection to secondary data collection, compiling the data, analyzing the data, running it through a consultation meeting, and coming up with the final concept of liquid waste management. And then comes to then once we have the final concept ready, we get into the design. Again, it has various steps in them where we have detailed site assessment based on the geoclimatic conditions, the data collected based on the geoclimatic conditions, and then with all the necessary data, final DPR with tenderable and tenderable documents and construction drawings would be made available, and then the implementation would take place. So right after the implementation, it is very important to have operation and maintenance plan in place so that the treatment plant could be, or liquid waste management intervention could be successfully operated. If the same thing has to be done at a city level, I think these are some of the steps that are listed here. We need to do a city profiling with sanitation mapping, land use analysis, and institutional analysis, which will it will actually tell us what could be the stress, what are the stress points in the city which needs a certain kind of intervention. Once the interventions are finalized, then each intervention would undergo the same procedure that I showed in the previous slide, a detailed assessment, and because each of these interventions then becomes a single decentralized project. So each of them will undergo the same process, and then we end up in making several decentralized projects in one city. So this is one small example of one small pocket in the entire city where a decentralization could be planned. Similar example for a slum in Maharashtra, and again another example of a slum. So likewise, I think the decentralization can be planned. So it is very easy to plan a decentralization at a source level. However, when it comes to planning a decentralization at a cluster, zone, or even a ward level, it is quite challenging. That is because often we come across that whenever we want to plan a decentralization at a ward or a cluster level, there is always a lack of space. We do not easily find a common space where we can do any liquid waste management intervention. Uh, Mainly public are not aware of importance of these systems. There is always a not in my backyard issue. Nobody wants a treatment system next to their next to their property. It is also hard to find a proper funding source for a decentralized systems. Of course, the private private owners would adopt their treatment system, but when it comes to common system for in a municipality or in a smaller town, it is quite challenging to find a space. And even the officials in municipality would have very little limited knowledge on these kind of system. And of course, there is no push from policy and policy level to adopt decentralized system. I think now things have changed because of new rule coming into the place, because of lot of capacity building programs that organization like CSE, like us, Wash Institute, we have done a lot of work on this promoting decentralization. So some of the remedies could be integrating these solutions, integrating with centralized systems, integrating with integrating to these challenges that are present on the ground, creating awareness to the public, having financial mechanisms in place, and then doing a lot of capacity building program, like through some of these schemes, the national schemes like Swachh Bharat Mission, Amrut, of educating officials on different kind of decentralization approach that are present, and then of course having alignment of decentralization through policy intervention. So this sounds a very generic remedies, but we have tried and tested some of them in our towns. For example, this was one of the projects that we did in Leh, Ladakh. Leh municipality had uh, actually come up with a zero discharge policy, which says establishment of a certain size and above should have their own treatment system. So this was one of the outputs where we implemented a 30,000 liter DWATs for police quarters. And this was really a context specific planning and design, because Leh really freezes for 3 to 4 months time, and then we adopted a climate resilient treatment system here. This treatment system has already seen 2 winters, and it has run successfully for last 2 winters. Now this winter is already approaching later this month. We are looking forward to how this treatment system would perform. With this, there are several other solutions that are there to actually address some of these decentralization issue. having prefabricated systems is one of them. This is another project in a town called Chikbellapura in Karnataka. Chikbellapura is a small town which has close to 100% sewer network. However, there is one small community which do not have, like some more other community. There is one more small community which do not have access to centralized sewer network, which was for economical weaker section, and we have adopted DWATs after a close consultation with the community members. This was adopted, and now community themselves are taking care of these treatment system. So this is one of the treatment plant which we all are aware of. One of the first treatment system. So this treatment system has been operational since quite a lot of years now. There are a lot of studies that have been done with respect to use of fecal sludge, treatment of fecal sludge, and end use of fecal sludge. Even till date, I think there are several studies and experiments going on in this treatment system. And the point to be noted here is this treatment plant is now being handed over to the municipality, and the municipality is successfully operating it even till date. And with their permission, we are able to run several experiments in this treatment system through our partner. So this was one of the first PPP fecal sludge treatment plants in India, which was established in Leh. Yeah, even this treatment plant is successfully operational till this year. Soon this will be closed in a couple of weeks after winter approaches in Leh. So yeah, that's all in my slides. If there are any questions, please post them in the question answer box. Thank you.
Thank you, Santosh, and thank you so much for wrapping it up in time. Very much time. Thank you. So it was very insightful presentation and covering important, planning and designing aspects in different contexts. So thank you so much for bringing this aspect to the audience. And going to our next presentation, I will just give a little background first of all. In 2004, Bangalore apartments were mandated for setting up the small-scale decentralized wastewater treatment systems, or STPs, and they were asked to reuse 100% of their wastewater, resulting in which actually resulted in 2,200 on-site systems in Bangalore. So still, because these systems are established, but their efficiency, their performance, now their functionality is very important to assess, because how many systems are still working, whether this mandate of having the small scale treatment system was a good mandate for the apartments, whether they are able to sustain with such systems. So that kind of questions usually come in our mind. And to answer that questions, a very good study was conducted by EWAC, and that is called the Forest Study, Small Scale Sanitation Scaling Up Study. That was the first holistic assessment of such kind of small scale sanitation systems in South Asia. So going further to our next presenter, who is Mr. Lucas. Mr. Lucas Ulrich holds a master's degree in environmental engineering from the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology, Zurich, and he specializes in small scale and decentralized sanitation and wastewater management systems. And his professional interest is on how the technical solutions can be identified, designed, implemented, operated, and maintained in ways that are best suited for the local context. He has his work in numerous countries, especially in the global south. And during his tenure in EWAC's Department of Sanitation, Water and Solid Waste for Development, he coordinated this forest research project, which is very well known by the sector experts. And currently, Lucas works as a project manager in Brunna, Switzerland. Today, he is going to present about the title of his presentation is Looking Back to Move Forward, Research Findings to Enhance Policy Impact, that is a forest study. So over to you, Lucas.
Thank you very much, Sumita. And thanks for the invitation to present this study here at this interesting webinar. I'm very glad to kind of go back to India after several years, where I have lost a bit track of what's been going on in this dynamic environment of decentralized sanitation in especially urban India. And so it's very exciting for me to be back and reconnect with you guys and with this interesting topic. So that's why also my title of the presentation, to look back on the time from 2016 and 2019 where we did this research. First of all, a quick question. Can you see my full screen presentation?
Yes, it is visible.
Yeah.
All good. Okay, so let me move on. For those of you interested, I currently work in a company called Wuna, where we basically plan and design resource-oriented sanitation systems. So I'm no longer at the Swiss Water Research Institute where we did this study, and I've joined the private sector where we now implement various kinds of systems, still a bit in the same space of decentralized or small-scale sanitation systems, where we basically implement a wide range of different systems, from dry toilets to small-scale treatment systems, including constructed wetlands, up to the reuse of gray water for potable purposes. And we even have a fertilizer made out of human urine that we bring on the market. So that's just a quick mention of what I'm doing today. But as the title of today's presentation is Looking Back, I would really like to kind of dust off these study reports that we prepared back in the 4S project, and take a look in the rear view mirror so that we can build on what is actually already there, what has already been done, in order to move forward with this new liquid waste management policy, which Jyoti is going to introduce after my presentation. So my goal is really to kind of serve to you all like on the silver platter, the main insights and the most critical points or recommendations from this study, so that you can just know what's most important. But basically, this is just a starter for you to be aware of, and you still have to kind of chew on it and digest it yourselves. So I'm going through it rather quickly, and I'm just also trying to make you aware of what is already there and what is written where in the different reports that we produced about this study. So this 4S project has already been introduced a little bit. It stands for Small Scale Sanitation Scaling Up. We often refer to small scale sanitation also as SSS later on, if you wonder about what that is. And basically, it refers to small scale sewage treatment plants in the order of like 5,000 to 7,000 cubic meter per day, or KLD. And yeah, this is our terminology for this. We could also call it decentralized wastewater treatment systems, as in the previous presentations, but we avoided this term here a little bit because there's quite a vague definition of when a system is called decentralized or centralized. So we just defined it based on the size of the treatment plant. So we made this comprehensive field research on these small-scale sewage treatment plants, mainly in urban India, and tried to identify the success and failure factors for such systems. The goal was really to produce evidence-based policy recommendations for the successful implementation and operation at scale of these systems. And the approach included an assessment of existing sanitation systems on the ground and an analysis of the governance aspects. Main partners were the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, BORA, also CDD Society in India, and the funding came from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, as well as the German Federal Ministry for Economic Cooperation and Development, partly. I'm not going to detail about these methods applied in this research, but basically included a mixed methods approach that included landscaping, evaluation of technical aspects of 279 units, including sampling of 35 systems, a governance analysis, and financial analysis. On the technical side, we produced a report with all the key research findings, where we basically have now about 20,000 installations of these decentralized or small-scale sewage treatment plants in India, which is already quite important, especially in some cities. All of these systems mostly are variations of conventional treatment technologies, where the treated water provides an enormous reuse potential for various purposes. Now there are more than 300 private companies that implement this wide range of technologies. And the technologies, as we found, have really the potential to achieve quite stringent BOD, COD, and TSS standards in terms of the wastewater quality for the used water quality. But of course, there are also several challenges that kind of hinder the bigger scale up until today. One is that the life cycle costs have not been considered so far. Often systems fail to meet nutrient and microbial parameters, even BOD. There's a lack of sludge management. So here we talk about the wastewater sludge generated in these mostly aerobic systems. And finally, most units underperform. Here, the key question is, why is that? Why do these systems underperform? And our finding is really that the biggest contribution to this is not the technology itself, but actually the governance. So we identified different weaknesses in the governance framework of these small-scale sanitation or decentralized wastewater management systems, including basically a lack of recognition in urban sanitation planning, lack of coordination between stakeholders, lack of budget and human resources dedicated to these small systems, gaps in the establishment handover and monitor procedures, operation maintenance, which is weak, no specific effluent reuse standards for small treatment plants, and an insufficient integration of small-scale sanitation systems in water reuse planning, as well as a lack of key centralized governance structures. I'm coming back to these later in this presentation. So then we came up with recommendations based on these analyses, including proposals on policy framework, discharge and reuse standards, institutional arrangements, management and monitoring of these systems, capacity building. So I really recommend you to take a look at the governance report that we published, here visible on the right side, particularly chapters 5 and 6 of this report for the details on these weaknesses and the recommendations. So something for you to digest, perhaps later on after this presentation. So now, yeah, these were really some key findings in a rush. And I want to highlight a little bit the most relevant points now with regard to this new liquid waste management rule, which was recently published or proposed by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change in India, which has really quite a few interesting points inside and addresses actually also some of the weaknesses identified in the 4S project. But the big question now, of course, is will the current governance for weaknesses be actually addressed through the implementation of this new rule? And we will have a little bit of time to discuss this with some experts also after the presentations. Basically here, yeah, as you can see on this picture here, schematically in the colored drawing here, small-scale sanitation systems like the green ones here, they are part of overall concept, or that should be the case. And this new liquid waste management rule also talks about on-site sanitation systems here in orange, like for a city in the more peripheral areas normally, and centralized systems should also be considered in terms of an overall strategic planning of citywide urban sanitation services and water reuse. So now the question is really, how can we make this liquid waste management rule work for the small scale sewage treatment plants? That's the focus of my rest of my presentation. And for this, I again look back on what we did and suggested in the 4S project. It is a bit of a complex slide here, but basically it also highlights that the system is complex. And on the left side, the figure highlights the final goal of performing and functional treatment plants, shown in the middle here in the round circle, which depends on a wide range of different aspects, including technical management aspects. And these need to be monitored and evaluated in order to inform strategic planning to improve, again, the performance and designs, operation, maintenance of such systems. Behind all this, we need at the governance level various environmental enabling environment elements, including government support, legal regulatory framework, sociocultural acceptance, skills, capacity, and more. So this is basically the analysis framework that we used in 4S. And these aspects need to be considered in order to make the liquid waste management rule work for small scale systems. Now, on the right side, I'm highlighting the priority actions that we identified in 4S for effective governance of small-scale sewage treatment and reuse systems in India. And this is from our infographic that we produced in 4S. So there is a variety of key steps that can be taken now by different stakeholders in order to improve the governance. And they are listed here around this circle. And I'm not able now to really go into detail of this, but I will highlight several aspects that come out of the liquid waste management rule also. And one of this is a centralized online platform where each treatment plant would be referenced, georeferenced, and data is collected in a centralized way about these treatment plants, their performance, and also more. Another new structure that may be required is a kind of a centralized structure to oversee and support this sector through kind of departments about small-scale sewage treatment plants at state level. And this dedicated unit would be in charge of overseeing the SSTPs at the state and where applicable also at city levels. And so these are new structures that we proposed, and especially the online platform was also taken up now in the new rule by the MOEFCC. This centralized online platform, as we suggested, would include details about each treatment plant, including the consent to establish and operate, performance data history, and operational sustainability data history. It could even include a public grievance portal and a treated water marketplace. And various stakeholders at the different governance levels from city to national levels would be able to actually interact with this online platform, upload relevant data or access data to be able to make informed decisions and create plans, etc. These new state level small scale.
Sorry to interrupt you. Can we wrap it up in next 2 minutes or so?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Trying my best. Yeah. So yeah, we suggest these new structures here, and yeah, you can read more also in the governance report, especially in chapter 641. Then the roles and responsibility needs to be really clear. Who has to be doing what? And for this, also, this new liquid waste management rule makes quite interesting provisions. And I recommend that basically our recommendations as shown here are taken up and included also while implementing this new rule. An important aspect is capacity development, which should basically be started in one state, for example, in Karnataka, which is already quite advanced in small-scale sanitation. And capacity development is really urgent for governance, implementation, operators, and managers, so the stakeholders at all different levels. Then also the discharge and reuse standards should be adequate for small-scale sewage treatment plants. And for that, in the 4S project, we came up with 8 specific recommendations for future standard setting. So this should also be addressed in order to make promote technologies and systems that are technically viable and economically viable. So the key recommendations from 4S, now to wrap it up, are basically that the current technical, financial, and governance weaknesses really need to be addressed systematically in order for this new liquid waste management rule to be effective. Also, the centralized governance structures for decentralized systems need to be created. And the online platform and state level committees or small-scale sanitation units need to be piloted in one specific state, as we suggest. Budgets are also important, not only roles and responsibilities. And then a coordination with urban sanitation planning stakeholders in order to define the scope of the different approaches of sanitation, including centralized and on-site sanitation. Existing legacy systems should also be really studied and their performance ensured. And eventually, we need flexibility for trial and error in order to achieve the goals that are defined in the new rule. What is very important beyond the 4S research is continuous scientific supervision and further research. Here are a few examples of ongoing and concluded research that followed 4S. I recommend you take a look at this as well. And on the right side, there is a brand new research brief that will be published very soon. It is from EAWAG and the Well Labs project, Water Reuse Lab, which is still ongoing in Bangalore. Thank you very much for your attention. You can find all project documents on the website sandec.ch/4S.
Thank you, Lucas. And it is quite an interesting presentation and highlights the issues which actually should have been taken into consideration while formulating the LWM rules. As you talked about the current technical, financial, and governance weaknesses, which are at the forefront for the scaling of, such kind of systems, small scale systems, budgets, roles and responsibilities, capacity building requirements, which is somewhere lacking in the LWM rules, standards, which are very much important for the, for the reusability of the treated wastewater as well as sludge. And last but not least important is about the research, ongoing research, which should be, enriching such kind of, findings and keep on improving in the systems. So thank you so much, Lucas. And may I request you to please stop sharing your screen? Thank you. And going further, I would request Jyoti to quickly, highlight some of the important aspects of the LWM rules. So Jyoti, if you can wrap it up in another 2-3 minutes, not much more. Please don't go too much into the, deep into this, because we are going to have, reflections from the CPHEO as well as other practitioners who are here. So over to you, Jyoti.
Thank you, Sumita ji. I'll say now. Is my screen visible?
Yes, Jyoti.
Hello.
Yes, Jyoti.
Okay. So I'll quickly tell what these rules says and what these rules are up to. So these rules, liquid waste management rules 2024, are released on October 7, 2024, by Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, MOEFCC, Government of India. And these rules will be effective from October 1st, 2025. Uh, these rules can be looked as a complete guideline for liquid waste management, considering its complete sanitation value chain from uh, generation of waste to the reuse or disposal. Currently, these rules are under comments or review, and public or any stakeholder can submit their comments to the MOEFCC, and they can submit the comments till 7th of December. These rules applies to urban and rural local bodies, public authorities, as well as other entities who are involved in the liquid waste treatment and uh, uh, reuse of the treated wastewater. The key areas, as I said, it covers entire sanitation value chain from generation to collection, treatment, and reuse and disposal. Key provisions under these rules are these rules direct industries, institutions, and large housing societies to follow the EUR mechanism or EUR framework, extended user responsibility, uh, where these establishments need to uh, treat and reuse certain or specified amount of wastewater for their uh, daily use. These rules sets the targets of reusing the treated wastewater as 20% by 2027 to 2028, and it needs to be increased as 50% by 2030 to 31. So these targets are set for the bulk users, bulk water users. Bulk water users means people who are consuming the water per day water as more than 55,000 liters, or if they're generating 10 kg BOD per day. So bulk water users are categorized into two different categories. One is for new bulk users and existing bulk users. So certain specific percentage of minimum percentage of reuse of treated water is mentioned in these rules. For new bulk users, you can see by 27, 28, 20% as minimum reuse to be done, and by 2030 31 it should be increased to 50%. And for existing bulk user, the limits are quite lower, and for industrial establishments, the minimum reuse to be done at 60% by 27 28, and it should be increased to 90% by 2030 to 31. So, as I mentioned in my previous presentation, that these rules promote both the approaches, centralized as well as decentralized approach. The reporting and monitoring mechanism is detailed out in these rules, and most of the responsibilities are under pollution control boards, either it is central pollution control board or state pollution control boards. And then it has been like responsibilities or roles have been distributed among different stakeholders, local bodies, etc. So in the annexure form, the rules have some specific forms. Like I have mentioned that these rules direct different stakeholders or users to follow the EUR process or mechanism. So these are some forms which need to be submitted to either CPCB, SPCB, or local authority for the permissions and grants, and for annual returns, recovery returns, and all. So these are the specific forms. So the process of reporting and monitoring is quite robust, and we can say it is a lengthy process. Sludge management is also highlighted in these rules. These rules says the sludge from sewage treatment plants and fecal sludge treatment plants to be reused in agriculture and industries with quality controls. And these rules also highlight the safety concerns, the public health hazard, as well as environmental risk. Uh, the challenges and opportunities. There are some challenges because these rules says sets some targets for different towns. But in India, we know all towns are not equally able to follow these rules or comply to these standards or targets. Because in rural area or smaller towns, infrastructure gap is there. Finance support is needed to the smaller towns for the specifically for the decentralized solutions, and also there is a social stigma which needs to be removed from the society. These rules highlight some key users as treated water users, like thermal power plants, pulp and paper industries, textile industries, iron and steel industries. So these are some key industries where treated water can be used as a bulk. So the major highlighted point here is whether we need such kind of rules, or what about the existing rules, existing guidelines, existing frameworks? Because SBM also says the towns with population below 1 lakh, 1 lakh needs to reuse the 20% of their treated water. And Amrut 2.0 also says that 20% of the total demand to be met with the treated water. NMCG's safe reuse of treated water framework also says little higher standards. This is where STPs are operational. They need to reuse the treated water as 50% by 2025 and 100% by 2050. And where STPs are not operational, the targets are different. It is 30% by 2030, and then it should be raised to 50% to 2035 and 100% to 2050. So these rules, these frameworks, these targets are already there, and now we have a contradictory and another targets. So publics will get confused. So we will also discuss some questions in the interactive session with the panelists, that whether these new rules are needed, or they can be aligned with the existing rules. So yeah, thank you, Sumita ji. Over to you.
Thank you, Jyoti. Thank you for highlighting some of the key aspects of the liquid waste management rules, though each of us is still trying to grasp it, exactly what it is saying, and we are trying to deliberate on this liquid waste management rules. So, as you rightly said, there are many points which need to be discussed further, and we have amongst us Mr. Satish Kumar from CPHEO, who has something to say about the new liquid waste management rules. So Satishji, we would like to know from you that how much effective these rules would be, what are the challenges and what are the opportunities in the new liquid waste management rules. So over to you, Mr. Satish.
Yeah, thank you, Mrs. Sunita. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Very good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank CSC for inviting us for this wonderful workshop. So rather than giving the opportunities and all those things, let me put it in such a way that we had certain points which is of major concern, and those points I have listed out in the next slides, next few slides, and those are the things actually which, as far as we are concerned, which is actually very much important or crucial as far as urban areas are concerned. So basically, we have identified 3 points, and some of these points actually it has already been covered by Mr. Lucas of EVAC. And I was fortunate to be a part of this workshop, which has been organized by IIT Madras as well as EVAC, in Delhi sometime in 2018 or 19, I suppose. So actually, unfortunately, so that is the thing. Actually, I put some of the findings of the EVAG report in here. So let us see one by those points, whatever it is, major concern one by one. Is my slide moving?
Yes, sir, it is.
Yeah, thank you very much. So the major point is actually the definition of the bulk waste generators as well as bulk waste users, as well as whatever the responsibilities that has been held by the bulk waste generators. So the first one is the first major concern regarding this thing is actually the bulk waste users. When compared to your total city's population, they are very, very negligible. See, this decentralized systems, whatever we are talking about in here, this we are talking in, or else the rules, it has been framed by keeping in mind that these are all, very high-rise apartments, which it has been shown on the right side of the first two photos in the right side of your screen. So you can see that this is actually very much optimal in such situations where, you will be having some tens of thousands of population will be there. I can call this one as a township area, where you will be having a built-up area of only 20% or 30%, and about 20% will be your covered areas, and over 50% area will be your open green spaces. This is actually ideal thing. We also agree that if such spaces are existing within the city or outside this, most of the time it will be outside the city only, or else in the outskirts of the cities. So in such cases, we also support this kind of system. We do not have any objection. But this rule is applicable for this. As far as the rule is concerned, they are saying that as it has been summarized by Mr. Jyoti Prasad of CSE, this rule specifies that, whomsoever they are consuming about 5 KLD of water daily, they had been brought into the category of this bulk waste generator. That is actually 40%. So 40% means it is only 10 household. So you just see the second row of your right-hand side of the photograph. This is how a typical Indian city will be looking like. The one which you are seeing it in the left-hand side, it is actually the map of Indore. You can count how many such high-rise buildings are there, which has floors more than, G+5 and above. So you can count it. It will be little, it will be hardly handful. So this population, maybe I would say that, okay, for this 40%, this kind of apartments, if it is existing, maybe 100 also, which is impossible in smaller cities, which constitutes most of the Indian cities. But let me take, as a blindly, I'll take that, I'll go with 100. So even then, 100 apartments are there means how many persons we will be covering? We'll be hardly covering 4,000 persons. So in a city which is having a population of around 1 lakh or 2 lakh, what great difference of some 4,000 managing the wastewater from the 4,000 population will be making? So that question we have to ask first. So my first point is actually the wastewater that is being generated by your bulk waste generator with respect to your total ULB population, that is actually very, very meager or very negligible in amount. Then the second one is, as I have mentioned earlier, this concept, it has been framed by keeping into the mind that, everything is in township and it is, situated in some suburban areas and all those things where the sewer network has not been proposed or has not been planned. But what about the core area of the city where, already even in the already under Amrut program, already we have about 60% coverage, I guess 60 to 70% coverage we already have it in larger towns, whereas in smaller towns this ratio is in the ratio of around some 10% or something. So we, in these cases, what will be the scenario? So there is no answer for this in the rule, because this is primarily suitable only for this kind of areas where sewer network is not there, but not in the other cases. Then third point is actually where land is available. You just see the photos which I have shared it, which is a typical Indian cities, where you will be having, I have shown at the last row, you can see that I have shown you the typical Indian apartments, which will be having G+3 or 4 floors, which will not be considered as a multi-story building. Can you set up a STP in here? Is there any space you feel that, it's left out for setting up an STP in here? You cannot do that one. In most of the cases, you cannot do that one. So that is one more point of concern. Then the other one is, okay, even if I'm setting up, my STP and all those things, where I will be letting out my wastewater? Will I be having the so much space, like 50% area to dispose of my water? Because actually for every square meter area, as per your construction manual, it represents 3 liters of water. You can utilize it for the horticulture purpose. So do we have such a great area for managing this much amount of waste, I mean treated wastewater, whatever you are treating? If not, where this wastewater will be going, treated wastewater will be going, it will be left into the nearby drains, or else, as usual, it will be left into the sewer networks, which we used to see it in Delhi. In case of Delhi, even after treatment, it is being left out into the your sewers along with your untreated wastewater. So that is a major one of the major concern. And fifth point is a major point which already Mr. Lucas he had covered it. So see, it does not depends on the efficiency of your plant, does not depends on the size of the plant or the technology. He said that during his presentation also, but actually it is proportional to the monitoring and the governance which you are giving it. So that even with this, we have around 2,000 plants or 1,500 plants which is actually constructed in the country so far. But we have difficulty in monitoring these plants. We have difficulty in governing these plants. But how are we going to, if I'm going to set up for every 40% one STP, that will be maybe a 10,000, I mean, few thousand, 10,000 STPs that is going to come. Is there any monitoring mechanism we have it? Because with 1,000 or 2,000 itself, if we could not able to manage it, then what is the monitoring mechanism we have it for the few thousand, 10,000 STPs? So that is actually once again a problem. Then next one is yes, this thing. See, all of you are technical people, so you might be knowing whenever there is a larger capacity of STP is coming, then your cost will be, the proportional cost per MLD will be reducing. For example, if I say that per MLD, my construction cost of STP will be around 2.5 crore to 3 crore rupees. But when you are saying that I'm going for 20 MLD STP, that will not be, it will not be 50 crore rupees or so. It will be actually 20 crore rupees. So the larger the STP, your construction as well as operation maintenance cost will be much lesser. So there is this thing also. So whatever the small scale STPs, whatever you are proposing it, as per the rules, it is actually not economically viable. Then, and this is actually one of the major thing that is actually in addition to the this small scale STPs, whichever it is being proposed under the rule for the areas where you do not have sewer networks, it also says that the areas, or else the apartments which is coming under the already sewered areas also, they have to go for establishing such STPs. Why is that so? Because you do not already have space for disposal of water. And I've told you the scenario of Delhi also, where the water is being treated in many of the apartments and they are letting it out in the sewers. And already our sewage is actually very much diluted. Though our STPs are being designed for 250 milligram per liter of BOD, already in the ground, we are seeing that it is 150 milligram of BOD. If you are lucky, then you'll be getting 150 milligram of per liter of BOD. And further, if you are diluting that one, you will be seeing 100 milligram per liter or 80 milligram per liter. Then that will actually adversely affecting your treatment efficiency also. So that also you have to take into mind. Then you are having this inadequate capacity means actually here. Oh, that actually I forgot to delete this thing. But I want to mention one more point in here. See, this small scale STPs, whatever you're proposing it in urban areas, due to the land constraints, you cannot go for this nature-based technologies, whatever it has been explained in the earlier systems, the DWATs and all those things, because it will be requiring a larger amount of area. So here you have to go only for the mechanized treatment systems, which is actually prevailing. You can see anywhere across the country, wherever this kind of systems which has been placed in situated within the apartments or so, most of them, or else 99% of such systems will be of mechanical treatment systems. So that will increase your, potentially that will increase your O&M cost, and in longer run, actually, this will not sustain. So these are some of the points with respect to the bulk waste generator is concerned. Then the next thing is regarding the treatment and reuse and recycling. So in treatment, they are saying that in extended user responsibility, they are saying that a certification approach can be made where, you know, those who do not have any treatment systems within their premises, what they can do is bulk users, those do not have any existing STPs, then what they can do is they can let this one into the nearby sewer networks, but they can get the credits from already operating STPs. So it is similar to your carbon credit kind of thing. But we all know that in our country, even carbon credit had failed. And how we are going to supposed to implement this kind of certification process, there is no idea on that one. There is no light on that one as far as the rules are concerned. And then in recycle and reuse standards, though the standards are available in Environmental Protection Act 1986, it has been categorized only into 4 categories, and there are some industrial for industrial use of treated wastewater, there are some standards has been given. But what about the other uses, like, you know, non-potable uses for washing, for floor washings, for gardening, for anything else, for spraying and all those things. So do we have standard for that thing? We do not have any existing standard for that thing. So first we have to focus on these standards. We have to come up with wherever we could be able to use this water. Then we can go for such kind of stringent norms and all those things. Then next one is, as it has been one of the solution that has been pointed out by Mr. Lucas in his presentation, there is a central monitoring portal or central monitoring mechanism, which he had said it during his presentation for monitoring this small scale decentralized wastewater treatment systems. But there are certain problems with this too. For example, see here we are talking about the STPs, which is having sizes less than 10 KLD or 5 KLD. The construction cost of such plants will be in the range of maybe 50 to 60 lakhs. But what is the cost of your OCEMS, online monitoring systems? That will be in the range of 25 to 30 lakhs. So 50 to 60% of my capital expenditure over and above the construction cost, I have to spend on this monitoring mechanism itself. So do you think that will be economically viable? That is not possible at all. And then it is not that, as everyone thinks that it is not that, this OCEMS and all those things, systems, online monitoring systems, it is not, being tampered. It could not be tampered. It is not like that. It can be easily tampered. Only thing is you have to just, you have to increase the initial values. If you're doing that one while calibrating such systems, if you're, manipulating that one, then you can easily, you can cheat the systems. So the central monitoring system, it is not actually the only solution, I would say. It's not the only solution for the efficient function of any treatment systems. Then once again, the economical viability of your small scale treatment systems to be validated. Because continuous monitoring that involves O&M cost also, in addition to your capital cost, whatever I have described earlier, O&M cost is also there. So that also you have to evaluate, and you have to judiciously propose. And moreover, see, our country, as for the data which has been submitted by the chief secretaries of all the states during June last year, I guess, in the Honorable NGT, they are saying that the sewage generation is about 52,000 MLD in the country. Out of that, the constructed capacity for STP was around 32,000 MLD. And out of this 32,000 MLD, the utilization is 22,500 MLD. That is, which is hardly equal to 43% of your generation. But the gap is 26,000 MLD, that is 49%, because that's balance, that 8%, it is actually the capacities has already been created. Only there is some problem in establishing the house service connections, or there is a problem in the missing links of the networks. So this is the things. So if I'm giving the money, as it has been shown in the Mr. Jyotish's slides also, we are running 2 programs currently, that is Swachh Bharat Mission Urban as well as Amrut programs for both, for urban areas in the country. So if I'm going to utilize this entire money for establishing my OCEMS only, then how I'm going to manage my wastewater, how I'm going to create, or else how I'm going to enhance the current treatment capacity? Because already I'm having a gap of around 50%, 49%. That is a gap. So where is the money to establish those treatment technologies if I'm going only for monitoring? So our stand is, ministry stand is actually, these are major concern points which we realized during the internal discussion. But anyway, the participants of this workshop, they can come up with more points. But the thing is actually, we are of the view that actually first we will do something for at least managing the wastewater. Later we will go for, stringent norms, going for, 10 BOD and all those things, that we can do it as a next step. Because every nation, if you see all the developed nations who had attained giant feet right now, they had actually taken a baby step at the initial stage. They did not started running immediately after, the day of their birth. So this is actually, as far as our ministry is concerned, these are our concern points. And I thank all the participants for patiently listening to our presentation to this long. Thank you very much.
So thank you so much, sir. And I also agreed to all these points. We already had to, discussed it internally and found all these points valid and very much aligned with our thinking also. So for all the participants, still the feedback or the draft rules is open for another 2 months. So we are all, have an opportunity to submit our feedback and get the desired things done. So without much delay, now I will ask the participants one by one who have raised their hand to come up with their questions. So there are 3 attendees who have raised their hand. Erica, I will allow you to talk. So please come up with your question. Kindly unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Hello, this is Erika Udas. I'm working as an ecosystem specialist at ECMOD, working in the Hindu-Kush Himalaya region. So it's a very interesting presentation from all of you, and it's also very interesting to learn, like there are like solutions, but again, there are pros and cons, and how we are really looking into the context-specific things, right? What system would work, and I think there are lots of learnings. And I would be very interested to also see if there are some of the case studies that are being documented, because we are currently really looking into these aspects, what has worked, not only in terms of the technologies, but also in terms of the approaches and the processes. So as Lucas also mentioned about the governance, right? So the system is okay, but there are like other software that really needs to function. So I'm really interested to learn more about this and collaborate in future. So just, it's not a question, but kind of like a remarks from my side. Thank you so much to everyone.
Thank you, Erika. And I would request my resource persons to please post some of the resources which are relevant to Erica, so that everybody can have a look of these resources. So next to, going next to Vindhya. Vindhya, I am allowing you to talk. Please unmute yourself and ask the question. Hello, Vindhya, are you there? Can you unmute yourself? Else I will go to the, I think next speaker, next one. So is there any other question from the participants? We can take up 1 or 2 more questions. If you have any question, please raise your hand. We will allow you to speak. Fine. We have another one, Dolly Bhasin. So please unmute yourself, Dolly, and ask the question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Dolly, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
So I just wanted to really know more about what is the real problem for the Yamuna River in Delhi in terms of the wastewater treatment. Because perennially for last 10 years, I've been seeing the same status, which is not really getting resolved. Is somebody going to do something about it, or are we going to live this way only?
Thank you, Dolly. It is a very, very valid question, but not pertaining to this session as of now. So we will park this question later on to take it further, maybe in the next some other, session or some
So
other webinar.
at least
But
if we
definitely
can,
we
as
will.
residents of the city as well as is the problem with the wastewater being really put into the river, or what is the root cause? At least if the speakers can possibly throw some light on it.
Yeah, Dolly, we will note down your question and definitely come back to you. Definitely, there are multiple problems, and CSE keep on writing on these issues. We will share some of our resources with you, but yes, we'll come back with your answer. But we'll take the another person question, Mr. R. Satyalingam. He is there to ask the question. Please unmute yourself, Mr. Satyalingam, and ask the question.
Yeah, madam, are you able to listen to me?
Yes, sir. We are able to.
Madam, the presentation is very good and very good points have been covered by all the presenters. I have a specific question, madam. Are you able to hear me, madam?
Yeah, definitely, sir. We can hear you very well.
See, I am representing Hyderabad Metro Water Supply and Sewerage Board, Government of Telangana.
Okay.
We have been trying to meet the targets as set by the NGT, and accordingly, the very big STPs have been set up, and almost more than 50% of our sewage generated is being treated. Balance we are planning to complete within a 6 months or so. We are facing some problems like the STPs are viable to be set up only within the zone of the FTL and buffer zone. But that is not allowed by certain regulations. But I have referred in my question one office memorandum issued by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change Impact Assessment Division in February 2022. There is an exemption to set up the STPs. So that is to be implemented properly, and it should be allowed and be permitted. That is my request. It is not being done.
Sir, we saw your question in the chat box also.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether any of the resource person is able to answer this question. This is little, beyond the topic of this webinar, but definitely we have to.
The liquid waste management.
Yeah.
I have posed discussion.
Yeah, sir. So Satish Kumarji, would you like to say something about it? Because I'm not aware about any such thing, but if you have anything.
Some answer is given, but it is not absolute.
Okay. So, sir, give us little time to come back on this question. Okay. We have noted down your question. You have already mentioned in the question and answer session. And we are glad that you have joined us from Hyderabad, the Water and Sewerage Authority, Hyderabad. Yeah. So we'll come back to you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Samita, I did write an answer to his question. I
please.
wrote that this rule, I've gone through the rules. This rule specifically doesn't say that you cannot adopt anything within the FTL. However, it says that you shouldn't throw the untreated wastewater into the environment. So I've answered it very generically. And though there is a rule that you can put up things on ground by the central government, I think Telangana government has their own rule saying that within the buffer zone, within the FTL, you cannot do any kind of infrastructure. I think the question is coming more from that direction.
Great perspective.
Yes.
Okay, fine, great. So thank you so much, all the participants being here with us throughout the session. And till now also we have a good strength with us of the participants, though we have exceeded 15 minutes of our desired time. And thank you so much, all the resource persons, Santosh, Lucas, Satiji, everyone who is present over here. And at last, thank you to my colleagues who have put a lot of efforts in putting up this webinar. Jyoti, thank you so much. Faraz and other my colleagues. And our director, Mr. Deepinder Kapoor, has also, guided us throughout this webinar. So we will wrap it up. Any other last comments from any of the resource persons? Thank you. And we will take up the questions from the question and answer box, which are not answered yet, and get back to you soon. Thank you so much, and looking forward to see you again in the next webinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks to you all. All the best.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.